Welcome and thank you for joining Diaries of an Ex-Adult Entertainer with Robyn Robbins, the podcast, where we have real, raw, and uncut conversations about transforming negative experiences. Get ready to be empowered to take inspired action to heal, activate inner liberation, and birth your new. Hey, everybody. It is your illustrious, vivacious host, Robyn Robbins, back with another episode. Told y'all season 2, we are coming strong. I'm super duper excited because we have my lovely sister friend, Kimberly Nicole Johnson here. I'm telling y'all are going to be in for a treat. This guest is phenomenal and has really truly mastered the art of transforming experiences in her very own way. And on today, y'all, you already know how we do. We keep it raw, we keep it uncut, we keep it real. So we're going to go ahead and jump into this, and I'm going to introduce our amazing guest. Kimberly Nicole Johnson is an author, coach, and powerful motivational speaker on a mission to empower others to unleash the power of greatness within. Kimberly is no stranger to unleashing the power of greatness within due to her own personal journey. In 2014, she fought and won the fight with breast cancer with her husband, Devon, by her side every single step of the way, only to lose her husband 2 years later, suddenly, September 2016. She eventually decided it was time to rise from that storm and walk authentically in her purpose. God showed her how to unleash the power of greatness within. She began blogging for Hope for Widows, but now blogs for her brand, Unleashing the Power of Greatness. Welcome to the podcast, y'all. Coach Kimberly Nicole Johnson.
For having me. You read that bio, I'm like, oh, who was that?
Like that's the way you, girl.
Yes, praise God.
Yeah, so talk to us. Tell us, I want to start with, going in depth into your journey a little bit. I know that you have survived multiple things, and I just want you to kind of go into that for us. Tell us what it felt like to be in that place when all of these things was happening, the battling with the cancer, and then suddenly losing your husband.
Yeah. So as Robyn said, 2014. I'm 51 years old, and I have always done my yearly mammograms and everything. And so I remember this particular year, to 2014, when I went, my husband was still in the world, and I remember telling him about a year before that I felt something like a small little lump. It was very small, and my faith has always been, high. However, it's different now. It's another part of the story, and so he just said. He was kind of concerned because he felt it was a small little, like a little pea. And so when I went to get my mammogram that March, I went mammogram, said everything is good. We don't see anything, whatever. So I left, but I still felt, I said, it's something. I feel it. Mm-hmm. So I told my husband, I said, I feel something, but they're saying it's nothing. So they ended up calling me back to get re-seen for a follow-up. Well, not a follow-up, to be re-seen again. And so when I went, I'm thinking they're calling about the concern that I had. So when I went, they checked the right breast, and so everything was good and everything. It was just, because women can have lumpy, you can have calcium, just all kinds of cysts, that's normal. Mm-hmm. So I remember when they said that, I said, but wait, I said the right, I said it's the left that I have a concern with. So they said, well, we don't see anything. The mammogram is clean, everything's good. And I said, well, no, I just knew what I knew, right? And when you connect to the Holy Spirit, that's a whole nother conversation too. But
Yes,
And so,
ma'am.
because most people would just say, okay, they don't see nothing cool. But I just knew, So they called me back and they said, okay, we'll come back. We'll do a sonogram just to make you feel comfortable and we'll see what we see. So I did a sonogram. So they finally did see what I was feeling. So they did that and said, well, let's just biopsy it. It's going to be nothing, but let's just go ahead and do it just to ease your mind. Fine. So this is something that happened. This is in my book too. I talked about how when that was happening to me, I was sitting in, because, to the mammograms, only women allowed back there. And no men, no kids, no nothing. So I was sitting in this room and there was a bunch of women had their little pink little doctor's shawl on or whatever. I remember being in the back. I was sitting there waiting to go get a biopsy. And this lady was in there. She didn't have on no pink, nothing. She wasn't a nurse. She was in there. And she came to me and she said, I'm on my phone, talking to my husband, whatever, texting. And she came up to me and she said, can I ask you a question? I'm looking around like, yeah. She said, are you saved? And I thought that was a very strange question at that time. So I felt like it was very personal. I felt like you being nosy.
Yeah.
Right. And she said, and I guess the way I looked at her, like I was puzzled. And I said, yes. She said, well, I want to just tell you this. She said, I want you to know that whatever you in here for, it's going to be okay. I didn't know her. So I thought it was strange for her. I was like, so they called me back. When I came back, I was looking for her and she was gone. So when they call you back, your biopsy, and they have you wait for your results. So I had me wait for a second, like for that first part. So I came back out, I was looking for her and there was nobody out there, no other women, and she was not there. So I talk about in my book how I know that was an angel. I know it was. Like she came straight to me, asked me, and she told me it's going to be okay. I had no idea what she was talking about. So fast forward. So then they told me, they said, well, if the results are, we'll call you in a couple of days. At that time, my husband was a celebrity stylist. So he was out of town on tour with some of the guys that he toured with. And I remember he came back early, which was a Sunday. So that Monday, I got up and I hadn't heard anything. Most people probably say, well, I haven't heard anything. It must mean good news. But the Holy Spirit was telling me, call. So I called that Monday. I called them. And when I called, and at this time, my husband was empty nesters. So my husband had went down and he was in his bathroom. So I called the doctor and I said, hi, this is Kimberly Johnson. I probably said Kim at the time. I was sort of going by Kim. This is Kim Johnson. I'm calling about the test results. So she said, oh, hold on, Mrs. Johnson. So when she said, hold on, and she stepped away, maybe about, 2 or 3 minutes, but it felt like it was like 2,000 years. It just felt like a very long time. So as she's away, I started feeling in my spirit, I'm going to hear some bad news. I just felt it. It's going to be bad. And so she comes back and she's like, oh, okay. She said, we have your results. She was like, yeah, I have good news. I have bad news. She said, well, first of all, you do have. So at this point, all I hear her, I just hear her making noise, but I heard the word carcinoma. And I know carcinoma means cancer. And so I said, wait a minute. I said, what now? She said, yes, you have, stage 2, which is she's in that early stages, stage 2. And she started talking all this mumbo jumbo to me. And so I'm like, wait a minute, what? So my husband hears my plea, he hears my tone, and he comes and says, like, babe, what's wrong? I said, she just told me that I have breast cancer. Like, who, me? And I said, I was literally stunned. So my husband leaned up against the wall, he just slid down the wall, and he said, we are both sitting there like, what? Because I just felt like in that moment, I felt like, I don't drink. Understand that's not how that happens. But I just felt like I don't do things that people that have that stuff do. I didn't know how that could have happened to me. And so we were sitting there, and I remember it was my oldest son's birthday. He had just turned, he had just turned 28 at the time, my oldest at the time. And I remember thinking like, this is his birthday. It was raining that day. This is his birthday. And I remember just being like, God. So I got my husband's hand and I said, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. I didn't know what that meant. I just knew it was going to be okay. So I remember the lady, and this was around the time when they were doing the whole Obamacare, like insurance, being an entrepreneur, you got to get your own stuff.
Right.
So I remember I had been looking for insurance for us because being hairstylist, you have to have your own stuff. So I remember I had been looking. So then I said, well, how am I going to get insurance now with this thing? I didn't know. So in that moment, I got a phone call. The phone rings again. I'm a person who really don't answer calls and start like, well, back then, I knew who you were.
Right.
It was nothing that wasn't familiar. I didn't know the number. Even being a hairstylist, I still didn't know if it's the client, leave a message, right? So I answered the phone. I'm like, and I said hello, and so she's like, is this Kim Johnson? I'm like, yes. So she said, I think her name was Beth. This is Beth. And I'm calling to find out about your results. Now, she was a woman that worked at this women's center who had just given me this news. Or she worked with them. And she said, I'm calling to find out what happened with your results. So I said, well, it wasn't good. So I'm telling her what happened. And she said, I'm sorry to hear that. She said, well, maybe this can make you feel a little bit better. She said, whatever. She said, I am calling to offer you assistance for whatever you need. Whatever you need, we're going to pay for it all until whatever. I'm like, God. And I had just told you I was looking for insurance.
Yeah.
And so in that moment, I knew it's done. It's okay. But you got to walk it out. It's done, though. It's done. So, and it wasn't, I'm not going to say it was a cakewalk because it was hard. I did 25 rounds of chemotherapy. All my hair came out. After I did that, which is 4 months. It went every 3 weeks, 4 months. After that, I did a mastectomy. I could have done a lumpectomy, but me and my husband prayed about it. Like, if y'all twins, y'all go together. Y'all can go on, live your life somewhere else together. So we decided to do mastectomy. Then after that was in October. Then, that in itself was hard. It was a very, very, very painful situation. It was hard just watching my husband. And then I remember with that, just really quickly with that, when we had the mastectomy. Okay, so after we did the chemotherapy, by the time I got to the surgery, the tumor had shrunk. It was so little because it wasn't real big. It was like 2.1. Mm-hmm. By the time the surgery came, it was like 1 something. It was very small. So they felt really, really good about that. And then I remember, so what happened was I had surgery October the 15th. I had a mastectomy, and I remember it was about a 4-hour surgery, I guess. But what happened was my platelets and things kept being really low. So the doctor said, well, let's just do one. We'll just do one for now because we don't want to keep her under any longer than we have to. So we just did. So what happened was they did just the left one first at that time. So I would have had to go back and get the other one done months later, almost a year later. Mm-hmm. So when I was in surgery, they did the left one. Everything was good. The clear margins, all that, got everything. It was all as well. So I was in recovery for a couple of hours. So I remember, so by now it's like 8:00 at night, maybe 9:00 at night, by the time you get to your room. So I go to my room and I was feeling a little, but I was really hungry. And my husband, he said, what do you want to eat? And I said, I need you to eat. And, he didn't want me to eat hospital food. So he said, I'm going to run down the Outback real quick and grab you some food. He said, do not get out this bed. Promise me. Because he knew that I was trying to do something on my own. Mm-hmm. He said, promise me. I said, I promise. So I remember he kept watching me. He said, do not get out this bed. I said, I'm not. So I'm laying in the bed. He goes to get the food. He's right back. So by the time, as he's coming back, I had the bathroom really bad. So there was like a CNA or whatever they call it, CNA in the room. And so I'm telling her to go to the bathroom, but at the same time, he's walked in the room. He's sitting in the chair watching me. So when he walks in, he's watching. He's like, so she gets me up out the bed. I'm going to the bathroom. As I go to the bathroom, I look down. I was like, what's on the floor? Is that pee? I'm saying, is that pee on the floor? She was like, ma'am, no. So when I look down, I don't know what happened, but my leg, I just was like, I fell, like my legs, everything. And if my husband hadn't caught me, I probably wouldn't be here because I would have hit my head on the sink. Next thing I know, my husband then leaped over the bed like a superhero and caught me. So because had he not caught me, I would have went down. So when he caught me where I had just had the surgery. So it opened that back up, right? But if he hadn't caught me, so I remember I'm like, husband. And so then I sat on the bed. I said, I'm scared. I said, I'm really, really scared. I just felt like I didn't know what was happening. So I started just vomiting, just like projectiles, just like, so he's like, so we're sitting there. So doctors all run in and they said, she's bleeding inside. Just go back to surgery. I had just came to my room, So the surgeon comes back and she said, and because she was handpicked by God, because she was like, I got you. Don't worry about it. You're going to be okay. Scared. scared. So as they're taking me back, I had to go right back. I mean, literally, I had just had surgery like 3 hours before. Now I'm bleeding inside because when he caught me right under the incision. So when he caught that, it ruptured everything. So I'm going back in surgery. I remember looking over my husband, and he tried to be strong for me, but I remember looking over at him, and he was against the walls, just pulling me to the operating room, and you can't go inside. I remember I looked back, and he was on the wall. I just saw him just slide down on the floor like he was just praying, and that I never forget that. I never forget that. And so I remember she said, "You're gonna be okay." So I woke up, and I remember waking up. He was right there. He was right there. And so after that, we had to do. I went a whole year with just the one surgery first because my platelets kept being all over the place, and they didn't feel comfortable enough to do that. So I had to wait. So I went a whole year with just one. And so by 2016, so that was 2015, I did 25 rounds of radiation, and which was from December to January 2015. So 2016, I was able to have that second surgery, the reconstruction surgery, where they took the right one at that time and then put in something called expanders, where they put these expanders to stretch your skin to be able to get the implants. That was leap year of 2016, which felt very symbolic as well, because leap year only comes around every 4 years. So that was, to me, like, God, you tell me that this is done. This is done. Mm-hmm. And then my husband left this world, I think 4 months later, he was gone. So I had surgery in June. He was gone in September. And so for me, I did not understand. I'm like, God, everything we've been through, you promised this, you promised that, and he gone. What am I supposed to do? I literally did not know what I was supposed to do. Because my husband and I we were that couple, we were just that couple. So it made no sense why he would not be here to enjoy the rest of his life with me that God had promised me and us, right? And so my husband transitioned, had a motorcycle accident, which was weird because my husband could ride his bike blindfolded, underwater, on ice, and dress shoes with a t-shirt on, and it made no sense. So when he had the motorcycle accident, and it was his throttle on his bike had got stuck, and so all of that, it launched his bike. And so when that happened to me, me and my children were literally sitting in, what? God, not just. So when that happened, I was really thrust into being Kimberly Nicole Johnson. I really believe that. I mean, I know I still had a choice, but I feel like I didn't have a choice. I feel like I just didn't. I feel like there was no other option but to now step into this huge mantle, this huge assignment that God was going, because God was going to use. He has used that for His glory. First of all, the pain of it all. The word says that He will turn everything around for good, and
Let's talk about that. What was that like emotionally, going through that battle, you and your husband with breast cancer, and then losing him only 4 months later? What was that like for you mentally, emotionally? Paint that picture for us. Where were you when this was happening?
I was the very first thing I felt was shock. I remember when we got the call, the way we got the call, and we went there, and then that night when we went back to the house full of people, as you can know, people I didn't know where we lived. I remember, so when I went in the house, my sister was with me, and I went in the house, and I went upstairs. I took a shower, because that's what I normally did at night. I took a shower. And my sister's looking for me like, where y'all? And I think she was like, you taking a shower? Yes, because it had not clicked that my husband was no longer going to be in the world ever again. Never. I would never see him, and I had just seen him hours before. And so I was in shock for quite some time. Yeah. And then in being in shock also came being mad, extremely mad. It felt unfair. I went through a whole thing of why they get to have their husband. Not that I wanted them to not have their husband, but I still want to know why they get to have theirs.
Right.
I felt my husband was a man of God. He was a light. I always talk about how when he had a service, we had 2,000 people attend Devon service. That speaks to this man's light in the world. Because I know people say, well, people just come to be, that spoke to his light, the light that he left. And it made zero sense why this was happening to me. And I know people say, well, you can't ask why. That's a lie, because you can. God's our Father.
That part. I can't. That, sometimes I just want to go off on a tangent and say the things that church folks say. I really do sometimes because I just want to know we all in the same book.
Yeah.
We all
Okay.
reading the same book.
No, ma'am.
That ain't
I
it right there.
That verse of scripture comes from book of Galatians, chapter 4, verse 10. That's where they come from. That's not in the way. Yes, we can ask God whatever. Jesus asked God, and
That's
Jesus is
right.
God, and He asked God.
Come on, that part.
Everyone He used in the Bible asked what the God and said, what, why, when, how,
exactly.
who? Job, Gideon. So we have a whole church on here.
I already know. Abraham, all of them.
All of them
asked.
They asked questions. They wanted to know. Right. And so I was in that, like, I did not understand. And I could not. I remember sitting in his closet because my husband was a celebrity stylist, and his closet looked like Saks Fifth Avenue. And I remember being in the closet, sitting on the floor, picking out clothes for my 43-year-old husband, service. And I remember asking my sister, I was sitting on the floor in his closet, and I looked up at her and I said, what am I supposed to do? Tears. And I didn't mean what I'm supposed to do as far as like, financial, just period, without the person that God had given me, who I thought was going to be for eternity. But what I had to finally realize is that we did spend our life together until the end, because we completed our covenant, for better, for worse, through sickness and health, through all of that. Right? We completed every single, checked off everything on our covenant with God, all of it. Wow. All of it. Right? And so I remember asking her, what am I supposed to do? And she said, God's going to get the glory. And in that moment, I didn't know what that meant. I didn't. I'm like, okay, what am I supposed to do right now, though? Because I'm hurting and I'm mad.
That part. Mm-hmm.
I'm mad. I don't understand. I know people say you strong. I'm strong mad.
Right.
I am. And I felt like my children, my boy, I have 4 sons. And they were all close with their dad. And at the time we had 8 grandchildren. Now I have 11. And it just felt, what I felt was, I was hurt. I was deeply, deeply hurt. I was cut in a way that was worse than when I went through that surgery. I was cut with no anesthesia. I was hurt. I was hurt. And I didn't even see a way out. I didn't see healing. I couldn't see it.
Right.
I couldn't.
So what was the turning point for you? I know eventually you said that situation, it made you rise and come into who you were called to be. But what was that actual moment when that happened? What was that for you? Was there a specific moment? Some people have these ahas or defining moments where they remember this was the day or this was the moment where the shift happened.
Mm-hmm. I think for me, what happened was 7 days after Devin's service, I have all sons, but I call their girlfriends my daughter-in-laws. Those are daughter-in-laws. Because they've been together, they were all like 15. And I remember me and one of them went out to lunch. On October 4th was because he has his own day. October 4th was his service. So by the 7th, we went to lunch. And I saw one of me and Devin's really, really close friends. He was at this restaurant. So we were walking out and I saw him. And I was like, oh, there's Rick. So I walked over to him. We were talking. And he said, can I ask you a question? I said, yes. He was in the service. It's beautiful. Because I spoke at my husband's service. That was the first time I really spoke with that many people. And God was doing something. I know now he was doing something even with that. Right. So I remember he asked me, he said, can I ask you a question? I said, yes. He said, I know what you and Devin wanted to do, but what do you want to do? That was a very brave question to me in that moment, because my husband had just been in the ground 7 days. And for him to ask me, what do you want to do? Could have felt like, what you mean what I want to, And so when he said that, I said, I want to write a book. Devin talked about writing a book. I never thought about, it just came out just that easy. And he said, I want you to meet someone if you want to. He said, I have a really good friend. She's a very well-known artist. She's a speaker. I want you to meet her. And at the time, I didn't know nothing about I didn't know what a life coach was. I was a stylist for 20-something years. That was not my world. I didn't know about life coaching and mentor. I didn't know about that. So I said, I just felt like, well, why not meet her? What else am I going to do? So I met her 7 more days later. Well, that's 7 more days later, right? So I met her and it was an instant connection, just instant. Again, I had no idea. I thought she was sent to help me grieve, to help navigate me through that. I had no idea that she was an actual life coach, and she was going to help me begin to unpack and peel layers so I can heal. I didn't know that. Mm-hmm. So I worked with her. So she said, if you want, I want to work with you. I want to help you because your story is just too powerful to sit on that. It's too powerful. You have many women that you can really help. So I was like, again, I don't know what this is, but okay. And I remember he said, if you want to do this, I'll pay for it. I'm thinking, I didn't know that coaching is in a true investment. Mm-hmm. Like sometimes putting down payment on the house. I didn't know that. So I'm like, okay, because I never knew how much it cost. I remember he said, pray about it. So by the time I got to the parking lot, I said, I want to do it. I just felt like I was supposed to do it. Yeah. So I worked with her for 6 weeks, and she really helped me really start unpacking my brand, who I am, all of that. Because again, I had a business with my husband for over 20 years. I've been an entrepreneur since 2004. Mm-hmm. Very thriving business. I was a platform artist where I taught on stages, taught stylists and different things. And I was the educator. And so I tell people that what happened was my stage just changed. My audience just changed. That's it. Right. So I remember working with her, and I started writing my book. Mm-hmm. And that really helped me, writing my book, and just really, because it allowed me to get the pain out daily, because my book is a memoir. So it allowed me to really get it out. That really, really helped me. And as I began to write my book, and then a year later, my book was actually birthed and launched and debuted. That is when it really started to hit me like, it's purpose in all of this. God is using it. He's going to use it. He's using it. And it's, again, even that's still been a journey, but that for me is once I wrote my book and it really released. And in the meantime, God was still showing me that he's God. I got you. And don't, it was never Devin. It was always God. Mm-hmm. Devin was just a distributor of the resources. It was never him. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So when God made that really clear to me, it was a very scary walk. I had an amazing support system. It was still very scary because he was the man that I had for over 2 decades. And so it was extremely scary, again, angry. Mm-hmm. You go through all of them, mad, angry, afraid, all of them, unsure, all of it, down, all of it. You go through every emotion, Yeah. So.
Wow. So I don't know if y'all are picking this up, but what I'm hearing you say in terms of your defining moment, it's almost as though the steps to transform the experience were, it was divinely coming. Mm-hmm. It was coming to you. It wasn't something that you had to search for. It wasn't something that you had to look for. Someone came to you and said, hey, what do you want to do? And mm-hmm. then I want to write a book, and let me connect you. Yes. If you want to do it, I'm going and I'll pay for it. Yes. It was just divinely unfolding for you. And then you work with this woman was a coach. You didn't know she was a coach, and she began to help you unpack all of this stuff, your book, your brand, everything, and you begin to write. So your mm-hmm. writing became therapy, and mm-hmm. you was able to really release it and get it out. I hope y'all are catching, because see, this is y'all know this is my zone of genius right here. Mm. This is what I try to get people to understand. In terms of transforming your experiences for each and every individual, it is going to be different. But what I want you to catch is that at the nucleus of it, there are common denominators that we all still have to go through. Mm-hmm. So it may not sound like healing to someone else, but I hear healing. Mm. God knew the type of healing you was going to need that was going to get you through. Mm. So I hear healing, that like just everything, how everything unfold. That's so rich. I hope y'all catching this. You healed, like you said, you thought this woman was going to just help you grieve, but she did more than that. You see what I'm saying? And then you begin to kind of like, some people, we go to therapists, all that other stuff, but your writing was your therapy. Yes. That was a way for you to release, to sit with your feelings, to accept your feelings, to release those feelings. Yes. And then you wrote the book, began to launch, and then take us to, once this process, you got in the thick of this process, then what started to happen?
I remember when I was writing my book, and it's so funny because I remember asking her, what am I supposed to, because she asked me, she said, what do you want to lead with? You want to do with the breast cancer stuff? You want to do with where you are? I said, breast cancer is done. I need to write about what I'm in right now. So I remember when I did that, and that in itself, writing, I mean, you've written 1,000 books, so, writing books or, again, it's very healing. However, but it makes you really look at that thing too.
Oh yeah, relive it.
So I did that, and I remember there was a few little points of discouragement, and because see, here's the thing about people want to keep you want to remind you of who you were, right? And the word is so clear. God says, do not look at the things of old. I'm gonna do a new thing. Right? And so the people who want to keep you in that bondage want to keep you mad. Well, why don't you just keep doing hair? Just be a stylist. That's not what God told me to do. That was a part of my life with Devin. Devin was no longer here. That part of Kim, that's why I go by Kimberly now versus Kim, because Kimberly is the one who came about. The word says God would change our name. And although my name did not change, I never used that. I didn't. Right?
I resonate with that. I resonate deeply with that. This is why, you're my kindred, but this is why Robyn, Deshauna died. Deshaunaa's dead. And I never understood. I had this thing as a child. I was like, I don't like Robyn. Robyn's too masculine. I'm a girl, Damien. I'm a girl. As Cat Williams would say, right? I'm a girl. I went by my middle name. Call me Deshauna. Not recognizing, even in that, how God was preserving my name.
Come on.
So all of the trauma, everything that I went through, that was attached to Deshauna. But when God said it was time, that's when Robyn emerged.
Come on.
I can't wait to see.
Wow. That is so, and I just had a revelation today with myself about how, like you, I didn't like to be called Kimberly. Don't call me Kimberly. I didn't like it. I didn't. And now if somebody calls me Kim, who are you talking to? Huh?
Right.
Right. So no, that's real. And so that's how Kimberly even came about, is when all of this, my life past 5 years happened to me. Even when I went to the breast cancer stuff, I was still Kim, because that was all a part of the old. It's been 7 years since past October or April, and 7 means it's done. It's over. That's it. Right. So so that's how Kimberly was birthed. So when I launched my book, which was really, it was conceived. I used to always say that was me and Devin's daughter that we never had, because I wrote my book and started writing in October. He passed away in September. By June, I was done. I believe that's 9 months. That's 9 months, right? I know, dude. I know who I'm talking to. 9 months later, that baby was ready, and I launched her. So I was done by June, but I didn't show it to the world until October. It's like any baby. When you have a baby, everybody can't see her until she's about 3 months old, right? So about in October, on his days when I launched her, I had a really big event, really big, huge, and even then, I couldn't believe that I was doing it by myself. But here's what I've learned. I've learned that when you're going through something like that, or something is about to really blow your mind, God, he allowed my husband to really set me up before he even left this world. He does that. He allows us to be set up to a certain extent. And then when you look back, like, that's why that happened. That's why he said that to me. I remember how he would tell me, I need you to know that you can do this by yourself. I'm like, why are you saying that? Wow. Why are you telling me that? I remember one time I had, because he had just bought me a car right before he transitioned. He bought me a car, and God knew I was going to need that car because he wasn't going to be here. Right. I remember I was at the house one day, and my car wouldn't start. So I called, because we worked together. He was a barber, and I was a stylist working in the front. I had the back end. I remember I called him on the Saturday. He was swamped. Like, he was the barber to go to, period. I remember I called him on the Saturday, and I said, husband, my car won't start. He said, and? I said, I need you to come in. He said, I can't leave here. I'm at work. And I was, acting like a little brat. And he said, I can't leave. He was like, you got to figure it out. And I was like, figure who? So I remember I called one of my sons, and my son came like, Mom. And so what it was, when he got to my car, started right up, wow. But nothing even wrong with it. So I remember Devin used to say to me, and I remember he told me, he said, what would you do if I weren't here? And I used to be like, well, you are, so I ain't gonna worry about that. He was telling me up to know that you're gonna have to know how to do this by yourself. I'm not gonna be here. I remember sitting in the shop one day, and Devin talked about how he wanted to go to Egypt, which is strange to me. That was strange. Because Devin was a person, he was about life and living. And so for him to have that kind of conversation, I feel like I realized later, like God was preparing, he was leaving. Devin was leaving. I don't believe he knew. I don't believe he did, but he was leaving. But God was speaking to me through him, like, I need you to know that you can do this. Wow. He told me that. I remember he told me before he passed away, he said, why? Because I didn't want to do hair anymore. I just didn't. I knew that had died in me before he even left. I remember on September 20th, 2016, we were sitting in our house. I was in the house, and he woke up every day really excited. And I used to be like, can I get a couple more minutes? Like, he was very, very full of life. So I remember he came downstairs, and I was looking outside because we had the view of the city, beautiful. And I was looking outside, I was just thinking. And he said, what's wrong? I said, I think I'm ready to share our story, because no one really knew that we went to the breast cancer stuff. I said, I'm ready to share that part of our story. He said, are you sure? I said, I think so. I said, I'm ready. And he kissed me on my forehead. He said, we're going to do it together. And I always talk about how I never thought together meant him not physically here. I didn't know that it meant it would be together, but it's not going to be together the way I think it's going to be together. I remember that was September 20th. And I said, I'm ready. My husband left this world. 4 days later, he was gone. Gone. And I felt for a long time, like, God, did I say that? Did I activate that? But I'm not that powerful to do anything like that. But I felt though, as though, because I said I'm ready, I felt there was some type of conversation or something, like, she said she ready. She ready. Right. And he was gone 4 days later. My husband left, he transitioned and went to glory 4 days later. So I just started to think about just all those different things that got allowed to happen through him, for me.
Yeah.
So yeah.
What would you say to the woman that has lost a husband and or has gone through breast cancer and is going through that now, and they're listening to this podcast interview? What is it that you would tell her?
I would say, first of all, be where you need to be, meaning feel whatever, I don't care. No one, and if someone has even been through it, it's still, this particular thing is yours.
Yeah.
So to feel whatever you need to feel for however long, release it so that you can heal. And there's no time frame on it. It took me 5 years to get to this place of peace. Really, yeah, I'm gonna say 4, because when I turned 50, 2020 is when I really felt free. Some people, but I was married to him longer than I've not been with him.
Right.
So 2020 was when I really got free, 4 years later. And also and my faith is through the roof. I know that all of it is God, all of it. Yeah,
I wanted to talk about that, because that's one thing I do know about you in terms of your faith and how you maneuver. I've watched you. You've experienced something recently in January of 2021. Share with us really briefly what that was and how you was able to maneuver through that.
Well, in 2021, January, the top of the year, on the 31st of January, I was at home and I was working out, very light workout, very low impact, just working out, COVID or whatever. So we do stuff at home. And as I was working out, I felt a pop behind my eye. And I knew I felt it. It was not normal. So when I felt that pop behind my eye, I immediately stopped. I didn't know what it was. I immediately stopped. I took an Excedrin. And that typically would work like within minutes, but it didn't. It was still, and I knew, I said, So I remember, I went to my room and I was getting dressed to go to the hospital, to urgent care. So I called 2 of my sons, and I was really upset at this point because I was scared. And my son said, Mom, you have to calm down. It's your blood pressure. I said, I don't have high blood pressure. What blood pressure? Right? So I go to my car. So I was going to drive myself to urgent care. I go to my car and my car wouldn't start. My car always starts. I understand now that was grace. Car wouldn't start. So I go to, and if it, okay. Well, it just came to me just now, but if my car would have even started, I wouldn't have even been able to be cognitive enough to even make the decision that had to be made once I got there. So I called one of my brothers and he says, I'm on my way. So he comes, he picks me up to the hospital. In the meantime, I'm on the phone with one of my sisters and she's like trying to keep me, she's like, calm down, just breathe. I remember her saying all of that. So I walk into the room, the hospital, the people say, we're gonna be with you in a second. I said, no, I need to see somebody now, not a second, now. So I remember after that, I remember just waking up and hearing them, my sister was across from me and hearing them say, she has to go to Good Samaritan Hospital. I remember looking at her, tears coming down my face as if telling her, please don't leave me. Because she was the one who was, I mean, all of them were there. However, when that happened with Devin, she was the one like glued to me from the jump. Like she's the one who actually saw him laying on the ground as well. So it's the same sister. And I looked at her and I said, my eyes said, don't leave me. She said, I'm not going nowhere. Again, not even knowing I didn't even know why I had to go to Good. I didn't know. I don't know. So I remember being in the ambulance and they were saying she had to follow. She couldn't get in with me. I remember texting her. I'm texting her. And that, so she's like, tell them don't, because I heard them say something about a ventilator. And I keep in mind, COVID, with the whole COVID and the ventilator, I was like, no. And so I remember her texting, she said, tell them don't do nothing. I am literally just wait, I'm right here. So I'm gonna fast forward. So after that, I remember waking up 4 or 5 days later with a drain coming out my head, hair shaved, drain hanging out my head in the hospital, not even knowing what just happened to me. Because last I knew, I was sitting talking to my sister. Didn't know. So what happened was, she told me that when she got there, they had given me a CAT scan. And when I came out, the one doctor said, I don't know, something looks, So another one, again, God placed, said, put it back through. Now they could have been like, we don't know what it is, just go home and take some Excedrin. So the second one that the doctor told my sister, she said her brain is bleeding. And there's nothing that we can do here. She has to go to Good Sam. So basically I had an aneurysm, January 31st, 2021, aneurysm from just working out. And I was in the hospital for 21 days. I was in rehab for another 11, so 31 days. And I found out that it was just genetic. It was not a lifestyle issue. It was just genetic. It's like when I turned 50, something was turned on in my body, and genetically it happened. And I found out later, I didn't even know this, that my father's mother, he told me that when she was 30 years old, she had a brain aneurysm and she passed away. Never knew that. Wow. Never. So yeah, so I had to learn, I had speech therapy every day. I had physical therapy, occupational every day. They had to get me up, I had to walk all of that all over again, all of it. Nobody but God.
Yes. And
nobody.
We've watched you on social media. We watch you, like, take your time to heal, but also in the midst of that, I'm telling y'all, this woman right here would always post and still say, well, this is going on, but God, and I'm coming through this, and this is how your faith literally is through the roof. Literally. And I often will wonder, how is she doing this? How is she doing hit after hit after hit? She's still here. She's still standing. You're still making an impact. You're still empowering others. So many are being blessed by everything that you come with, your gifts, your purpose, and everything. How? And you always say, well, you already know, I attribute it all to my faith in God.
I love it.
How were you able to sustain your faith in the face of these adversities?
I think it's really honestly something that is already has to be there, and I think each thing that I went through gave me the power and the strength for the next thing. Because the whole breast cancer stuff, I wouldn't have been able to even be where I was with Devin stuff. Had I not went through Devin stuff and just all of that, it would, like, each thing, the words is to go faith to faith, grace to grace, right? that we go through, it's just building us. It's making us stronger for the next. It's like working out. You can add more weight once you get mastered at 10 pounds, and you can add 10 more. That's hard too. Then you add more. So it says like, okay, God, I done bench press. I'm at my, and it's just all him. I know that it's him because me on my own, I would have been gave up.
Yeah.
I would have said, I can't, because it is. I remember when I came from the hospital, I had to wear a patch for a few months because my eye, although I could see out of it, praise God, it was still affected. It was down and over. I could see, but I couldn't even, at one point, I couldn't even open it on my own. I had to like literally do this. And I would pray. And I remember I was in the house. I stayed with my mother for 2 weeks when I came home from the hospital. But I wanted to come home. And no, everybody was afraid. I wanted to learn how to live in my space. I needed to do it at some point. I was afraid. So, but I couldn't stay with her forever. Now I remember being home, and my granddaughters came and stayed with me for a month, 2 of them. I remember, which helped me because it allowed me to get up out the bed and take care of them and not just sit in my bed all day and lay in my bed. And I remember I was in the bed, and I get up in the morning, I do my praise and worship, I spend my time with God. I remember I heard in my spirit, anoint your eye for 30 days, the morning and the night, for 30 days. Yeah. I did every day, morning and night, and I was anointing my eye, and I prayed, and I really just soaked in that word. And before, because they were saying that it would probably take like up to 8 months for my eye to begin. I said, 8 months? So I came home from the hospital. This happened in January. I came home in March. I threw that patch away by June 1. That patch, I no longer needed it. It blew the doctors away. They were like, wait a minute. And when you have a doctor that asks your sister, can I pray for her? You know that somebody got placed. Doctors don't do that.
That's right.
Doctors don't say that for a doctor. When I went to the hospital, I was told that when I got in there and the doctor was prepping me and they were looking at my head, the brain, they said as they were looking at it, it ruptured. That same one ruptured 3 more times. 3 more. 3 more times it ruptured as he was preparing me for the surgery. They said that man came out of there and said, can I please pray for your sister? Doctors don't do that.
Wow.
They don't do that. So I know God will strategically place who we need when, just like he did with the ram in the bush.
Yes.
The same way he did that with that ram. Like, you ain't got to do that. I got this right here.
Wow. I love how in your story I notice how you are divinely provided for. Even with the transition of your husband and how though that person, a mutual friend came, that's divine provision.
Yes.
Like that. Woo, I hope y'all catching these gems. Because this is loaded. Kimberly, tell the people how they can get in contact with you. And before you tell us how to get in contact with you, tell them what you have going on right now, and then how they can get in contact with you.
Well, throughout all of that, I've written a book, Walking Without My Cane, because my husband was my cane, didn't realize he was my cane, but we all have a cane, something, right? And we think that we need it. We think we need it. Think about any kind of cane. You think you need it, but then you realize you don't even need this. Right. And so I have my second book coming out, Walking Unscripted. I'm still kind of playing with the name on that because I have a walking series, but I'm still trying to play with that name and make sure that's the name, or I have something else that God has given me as well. And I'm also I have a private community it was called the Push Tribe, but I just got word in my spirit to change it to the Water Walkers. So we're water walking inside the private community. So I have a ton of coaching programs that I can work with people with. They can find it on my website, KimberlyNicoleJohnson.com. And I'm also a speaker. I just did an event with the Cincinnati Public Schools reporting to these young ladies, which was amazing. My very first one since all of this happened. And I can be found on Instagram under IC Diamonds, IC, the word diamonds, and Facebook, Kimberly Nicole Johnson, and my website, KimberlyNicoleJohnson.com. So that's what I'm doing.
Oh my God. So y'all don't fret. We're going to have all of her links on how you can connect with her in the description below. So don't fret. I'm going to make sure you have her contact information, and be sure, if you need to unleash the power of greatness within, if you're looking to connect with someone that can help you build your faith to a place of water walking, because you know what, that was God. I'm trying not to go left, trying to stay on this interview, but that is definitely God. That's so befitting for who you are, what you embody, and what you bring to the marketplace. That is only right. That only makes sense. That's powerful. Because your faith is through the roof. And who better to teach us how to be faithful and how to expand our faith than someone who has had to go through it, to build that muscle, and who is already doing it, right? Y'all make sure y'all reach out to my sister friend. I'm going to quickly recap before we go. This has been such a blessing. Thank you so much for being here with us, Kimberly, and sharing your stories, your heart, and everything that you've been through and how you've overcome. I just want y'all to take this away from out of Kimberly's experience. I want you to hear how, in transforming your experiences, God will and can divinely provide for you if you are in position. I want you to hear that. I want you to hear how, she wasn't afraid to work with someone that had what she needed. She had a coach, and then she wasn't afraid to go through that necessary healing, writing her book, doing the things she felt necessary. She went with the divine flow that was presented to her. Every time there was a prompting, she hearkened and obliged to that prompting. Now, I want you to ask yourself, food for thought. Are you where you are because it's too painful to oblige to the divine prompting that you're already receiving? Chew on that. Chew on that. I want you to activate your inner liberation. Remember, we're in this together. We're journeying together. I want to thank y'all so much for tuning in to Diaries of an Ex-Adult Entertainer. And remember to always believe in your future enough to outlive your past. I love you. This has been a good one, and I will see y'all next time. Thanks for tuning into Diaries of an Ex-Adult Entertainer, the podcast. Don't forget to connect with me on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Robyn D. Robbins. Important links for this episode can be found in the description. Until next time, share this podcast with a friend. Hugs and much love, beautiful soul.